Hello, community. Thanks for being here live. Hi, everybody who's watching by recording. Kristen, Robert, Ellen, Tamra, Jimmy, Jay David, Sean, Brother Ed, Catherine, Vicky Jean, David, you, Ken C, Pat, Amy, Ken, Kevin Fort, Susan G, Suji, Candyman, Jen, Rebecca, Zoe, Living for Joy, John Stone. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here live. Thanks for being here watching also. So, today, the shadow side, 7 negative after effects of near death experience, NDE. Last week, we discussed 14 after effects, advantages of near death experience. You can check out that video to know the upside and the good stuff. But it's not all peaches and cream following a near death experience. I'm Peter Panagore, a 2-time near death experiencer. It takes decades to integrate. Where I was at any point is not where I am now. I am integrated, but previously, NDEs, negative impacts, weighed upon me as they do on many near-death experiencers. Near-death experiences hold a place of perplexing curiosity for the human psyche, offering profound insights into what happens after the edge of life, and often enough comes with difficulties in life. Personal experience and research shows that NDEs lead to life-altering perceptions and attitudes, impacting us in multifaceted ways. So let's get to the less frequently discussed, darker side of negative after effects from NDE. Psychological rebirth and changes in our belief systems. NDEs undergo a psychological cataclysmic rebirth where our beliefs, values, and attitudes are fundamentally altered. Belief systems and attachment to societal norms are often shattered, leaving a person without prior supportive aspects of our previous lives. The things that held us up aren't there anymore. When I was dead, God had no religion and no beliefs. And consequently, I had no belief about God. God was the realest of the real, capital R. And one doesn't need to believe in the real because the real exists, the realist, capital R, exists without belief. I went into that night a Christian, and I came out as a person who knows that the knower of all knows me, personally and thoroughly. Identity crisis and disruptions to personal relationships. Number 2. Once I knew, not believed, that my soul was inhabiting my body, or maybe better said, my body's inhabiting my soul, it meant that my brain, my character, my personality, relationships, and self-understanding were all just temporary and not my true self. I felt alone, so I masked myself for 20 years, hiding my near-death experience. This meant I presented what I knew was a false face to everyone I loved for fear that they would not understand and could not understand and might think me insane or ridiculous. And consequently, I might lose all of my most meaningful relationships. But of course, I couldn't hide my eccentric attitudes and behaviors. Little of what society told me was important mattered to me anymore. I feared being I feared being disbelieved and was concerned about being labeled insane, which I nearly was once, which only could lead to more social isolation. I didn't want the stigma of a pariah. Experiencers like me emerge as a new person, shorn of our previous identity, leading to adjustment problems within our familial and social circles. This profound change may and has for many, 72%, culminate in divorce as bewildered partners struggle to reconcile with a transformed spouse. Who are you? NDEs may lead to losing careers, friendships, family, all sorts of social connections, and from self identity from the inside out. 3. Increased intuitive abilities after an NDE sounds great, and some of the time it is. However, NDEers increased intuitive abilities post NDE include, for instance, here's one: telepathy, which comes from the Greek tele, meaning operating over a distance. That's good. And pathos, meaning misfortune, condition, emotion, undergo, and suffering. Telepathy, sometimes called empathy. Telepathy means suffering at a distance. Telepathy is transmitting information from one person to another without using known sensory channels or physical interaction. Imagine feeling everyone else's feelings and not knowing where one's own feelings began and the feelings of others ended. It's like awash in an ocean full of all different sorts of plastic particles everywhere you go, and you don't know where you begin and you don't know where you end. And these feelings, not having any control over them to prevent the intrusion of them, ingesting these microparticles every time you dunk your head in the water. I am telepathic. And I've spent much of my life learning not to be, to maintain my sense of self and sanity. Here's another precognition, where an NDEer gains information about future events that are based on no known facts or inference. Uh, I see my life as it happens before me. I don't have visions of the human future. I see what's going to be the next choice as I live it. I'm sort of fluid in time. I'm not really stuck in my space. What would you do if you saw a black aura around someone and you knew that that meant death was in the room coming for them, but you don't know what to do or how to prevent it, and maybe you can't prevent it? In my previous in the previous professional life as a pastor, I got to understand how soon someone might die in the presence of the darkness hovering around them. More than once. many times. Now, what do you do with that knowledge? While telepathy and precognition have positive aspects, and they do, they can be disruptive and disorienting, and even terrifying, particularly without the support or understanding of the medical community or loved ones. Next, heightened sensitivity to electrical devices. Post NDE, and some experiencers like me also report a heightened sensitivity to electrical devices. I frequently interfere with a specific radio frequency. And the lights in my studio, if you've seen any of the podcasts, or even last week, uh, uh, Kriya Yoga, the lights in my studio suddenly spike in luminosity when I'm agitated or anxious or particularly illuminated. I had to stop wearing wristwatches because every watch I bought stopped working within weeks. In the television studio where I used to work, I couldn't wear a remote microphone because the frequency of transmission on that particular wavelength from transmitter to receiver, all it was static unless I set the remote on the ground if I was taping outside or on the floor of the television studio when that was particularly a problem, when I was anxious or nervous or in the flow. It was a pain in the tuchus for my production crew. Plus, 2 summers after my first NDE, I got hit by lightning, by a side arc of lightning that went out into my shoulder and out my thigh, or struck them both at the same time, as I sat under a blue sky, watching this terrible boil of dark clouds flashing and pouring rain a mile away from me. I've watched the bolt come and hit me. It was like a finger of God reaching out to strike. I think we're at 5. Social stigma and fear of disclosure. How could I explain this to anybody? This was in pre-Google days. There was no information about NDE. I couldn't explain it, so I didn't. Like many near-death experiencers today, I kept mine a secret too, lips sealed. Fear of sharing our Fear of sharing our experiences is a source of anguish for many near-death experiencers, for near-death survivors. In the months and years that followed, there were more than a few times when I questioned my sanity. So alien was I in perception and circumstance. I think 5 maybe? Is that where we are? Coping with trauma and the presence of post-traumatic stress disorder. Dying is traumatic. End stop, period. Dying is traumatic. PTSD comes from dying. Shadows, wounds, and scars may result from the experience of dying. And they did for me. And once I began telling my story publicly, I couldn't tell it without crying. Only by facing my PTSD face to face did I overcome this post traumatic stress. Once I began telling my story, I had to face it. And I did in 2016. And once I faced it, I got better. Because previously, how could I get help if I couldn't talk about it publicly or to trained and understanding counselors or therapists or the medical community or my family? There was no help available. And fears of judgment and Condemnation forced me into the closet, preventing me from discussing my experience and hindering my ability to process and integrate my NDE. Today, fortunately, gratefully, help is available. I'm available as a trained and experienced counselor and wounded healer. And there are others out there helping too. Medical community is coming to understand that this is a real thing. We can talk to them now. They won't lock us up. Near death experiences are reaching an increasing audience weekly on YouTube on a global scale. NDE isn't a secret anymore. My lack of external support forced me to find internal support. I went inward to find my strength. NDEs may lead to anger, depression, estrangement, suicidality. I stumble over that word because I was. And loneliness, which may be sudden and disorienting as they were in my case. I know I'm not alone in these particular after effects, but fortunately, I found the Yoga Sutras, Kriya Yoga, and centering prayer practice for energy work and non attachment practice, which enabled me to find the energy guru guide within. Moreover, a small percentage of NDEs are hellish and distressing, invoking feelings of isolation and a void. These kinds of NDEs can result in emotional and psychological problems too. Next, sensitivity to light. This is kind of a funny one. It's sensitivity to light and sound. NDEers may have light and sound sensitivity. It's only funny sometimes. A lot of the time, it's troubling. I wear dark glasses or a brimmed hat. Like, that's so much better. Or a brimmed hat outdoors in all weathers: rain, fog, sunshine, clouds, and often indoors. Overhead lights, oh my God. I sometimes say to people, just because you can't see the light doesn't mean it's not there when they ask. What are you wearing glasses for? It's raining. On the upside, I see pretty well in the dark. Loud noises and certain sudden sounds cause my body to jangle. And there's music that I used to like that I don't like so much anymore. I no longer like it because it hurts to listen to it. A little upside. I love the sound of birdsong, babbling streams, wind in the trees, and a baby's laugh touching my soul's ear. And that's a benefit. These complexities of near death experience after effects emphasize the need for non judgmental and empathetic approach when engaging with experiencers. When engaging with experiencers, be non-judgmental and empathetic, especially those who haven't yet to integrate. Be kind, because it can take about 20 years. I'm getting a phone call. Kendall, what's up?
Good morning, Pete. How are you?
Good. I'm on the.
You got the wrong message up today. It's directing people to Mr. T and it's last week's notification. You put one up earlier this week that was correct. It says the 5th.
I can't change it now, Ken. I'm in the middle of it.
Too late. Okay.
All right. Thanks. Thank you. So that was Ken, and I apparently put up the wrong connection this morning, so people aren't here, and that was totally my fault. And Ken is always looking over my shoulder to help me out, and that's why I took the call. Nothing I could do about it now. I guess I sent out the wrong link this morning, but let's get back to where I was. Thank you, brother. It's good to have a guardian angel that's a human being. The complexities of near-death experience after effects emphasize the need for non-judgmental and empathetic approach when engaging with experiencers, especially those who have yet to integrate, which can take about 20 years. Professional support from therapists counselors, and other support people, medical people, people who've had similar experiences in support groups, such as Mystic Tea Salon. It's crucial. Resources and community support provided by organizations such as IANS, the International Association for Near-Death Studies, and NERDEF, their Near-Death Experience Research Foundation, offer valuable information, companionship, and refuge for those seeking to make sense of their NDEs and find a collective understanding. NDEs catalyze positive life changes. They do. Yet the negative after effects require recognition, attention, and compassion. They remind us of the importance of open dialogue, research, community formation, like Mystic Tea Salon, and support systems to aid individuals in navigating the complex aftermath of our mysterious experiences. Over 40 years, I've learned to cope with my negative after effects. I figured out how to deal with that whole telepathy thing through techniques that help me connect directly with Source, understand my higher self, and consequently, better manage my life on Earth, even though obviously I make plenty of mistakes. So, nowadays, NDEers, please take advantage of the available support and help as you work toward your integration. Thanks for joining me here today. And Ken, thanks again for the call. I appreciate it. If you're a near-death or spiritually transformed person, join us at Mystic Tea Salon at the top of the next hour. The link is in the description. It's a Zoom link. And thanks for supporting this channel through your gifts at peterpanagore.love. You make it possible for me to be here for you. You really do. Thank you. And this is a reminder that next week I will be sequestered writing for the movie. Hopefully the last bit I have to write for the movie. Finishing my commitment. So I'm going to be away all next week. I'll try to get up some videos on Monday and Wednesday if I can, and the same for next Sunday if I'm able to. But next Sunday, please join the incomparable Dr. Kendall Gilligan, who just called me on the phone for his Mystic Chai Salon, and there will be an email going out about that with the correct link. So sign up for the email. You can find it at peterpanagore.love. Holy scamoles. I love it when I make public mistakes. It just makes me feel so human. Um, yeah, I learned a long time ago when I was in the pulpit that I was going to continue to make a fool of myself in public. And if I was not going to come to terms with that, I was not going to be able to do my job. So fortunately, being a clown, and I know that this was an irritant to my kids. I actually was a clown for a while, nose and all. I have a custom-made clown nose. I mean, that's pretty serious for a clown. So anyway, I'm happy to be a clown in public. Maybe not happy about it, but content. I'm content. All right, so let's go over here and take a look, see what's going on. I'll hold you in my heart, Maggie. We're all holding you in our hearts, Maggie. That's for sure. Looking in the chat over here. This is the best I've heard. Thank you. And you're not even finished. Thank you, Barbara. There's so much more I could say about this, Barbara. There's a lot more to it. There's the whole nobody really understands. I mentioned it, my behavior. I couldn't hide my behavior. I couldn't hide my attitudes. And that was really, I could go in depth on each one of these things. Is a real problem. I lost friends. I've lost extended family members, like people who don't really grok me, understand. Hey, Kimberly. The inner experience and deep knowing gives me such consolation, but so difficult to convey to my son, Richard, who is consumed with anger and deteriorating quickly. We pray for him. Send you strength. Send him light. You're welcome, Catherine. Ken is awesome. Ken C is awesome. Yes, he is. Ken C says Ken G is awesome. All right, Robert. Thank you. Blessings on my writing. Thank you. Thanks everybody. Thanks for being here this morning. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I will see you at the top of the hour. Sorry about that email snafu this morning. I thought I had it all correct, but what am I going to do? Keep trying. Peace and love, everybody. Oh yeah. Keep trying. Keep moving forward. What's a good saying for today? I get knocked down, but I get up again. Remember that song? Peace and love, everybody. I will see you soon.